these folks from Ukraine are looking for an opportunity to put some money away for their families, to bring their families here, settle in for a while, and see what happens back home.
Director's Cut podcast and webcast for the July production in September. July was a really good month for the oil and gas industry. Saw a 1% increase in oil production and a 1% increase in natural gas production. We're at 1.18 million barrels a day. Another 2% or 2 more months like that, and we'll top that 1.2 that we have been anticipating as we went through the year. We've talked about we think we're going to get to 1.2 by the end of the year. It looks like it's really in sight, and so that's very encouraging. I did look back. It has been more than 2.5 years since we hit 1.18 million. So it has been a long haul, goes back really to early COVID times, December of 20, to reach back into, and we were on the way down at that point. So we were dropping from 1.19, got all the way below 1 million barrels a day. So it's encouraging to see the response and the growth. So want to talk about July natural gas production, pretty historic. The state of North Dakota has never before produced over 100 billion cubic feet of natural gas in a month. So that's a new record and a very significant milestone to surpass 100 billion cubic feet in a month. Looking at rig count, it is low. It's on the low side of what we anticipated and what we think we'd like to see out there for healthy industry activity. I talk a little bit about the drivers behind that. A lot of it is workforce. Also, I would say the second largest influence is the amount of merger and acquisition and developments along those lines that are taking place. So we're in the process of a kind of an enormous transfer right now with Ovintiv selling out to Grayson Mill, and that always disrupts the Happy to report that the first tranche of Ukrainians are working. They've been here for a couple of months. The oil and gas industry employers would like to have, settle in for 4, 5, 6 months with this first group, get their feet under them, understand how the whole program works, and then they'll be ready to bring in the next group. We are working with service clubs and city economic development programmers to make sure that we get sponsors and employers and support for these folks as they come over. My understanding from talking with the folks in the program is there's about 500 people waiting in Ukraine that are signed up and ready to come as we begin to get the process up to speed. So looking forward to that. I think a couple of our workover rigs actually have Ukrainian crews at this point. And from what I understand, the English-speaking capabilities are improving and things are going well. So we're off to a little bit of a slow start, but it's going to pick up substantially. So we'll kind of keep you in touch with that. When you look at the rig count, those 33 rigs working today are still capable of punching out 65 to 70 wells in a month. So that's enough to maintain production, but it isn't enough to create strong, growth, more than 1 or 2% annual. So still a little on the low side. On the wells permitted, the 87 wells that we issued permits for in August, that would represent 2.64 wells per rig per month. So that's more than they can drill. So they are building an inventory towards the winter. And on the completion side, as you can see, that's increasing with 91 completions, and that brought our waiting on completion list down. And we've been seeing that trend all summer long as the people that had a lot of duck wells are getting those wells put on production. That's really what's driving the production increase. Record number of new wells and inactive well count coming down, very positive. When you look at the initial grant work that we're doing to get rid of orphan wells, we're now at 66 out of 93 at the end of August for the plugging. Should be completed by the end of this month. We are, though, only at 5 out of 167 on the reclamation. Now, that's going to pick up a lot as the crop comes off. And the months of September and October should be good, assuming that winter stays away until Halloween, which is, kind of the norm for North Dakota, but it doesn't always happen, does it? One frac crews operating, that's plenty to keep up with our drilling rig and actually cut into that duck well count. So that's a positive. When you look at the charts, it's a bit scary at $4 gas and very low inventories. The SPR is at the lowest point that it's been since I think about 1986. So the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is low. The purchase that they made in August that's actually going to go into the SPR in September is only like 1% of what they've sold. So there really are no plans during the remainder of this 4-year Biden administration, the remaining first term of refilling the SPR. And as you can see, the non-SPR inventory is pretty low. It's approaching the bottom of the 5-year average. So the relief in gas prices, there'll be some as the refineries come back on, but there's also upward pressure on crude oil prices. And when we look at Saudi Arabia and Russia, they've decided to extend their cuts through the end of the year. So they're enjoying the high world crude oil prices, and those are really the basic thing that's driving the higher gasoline prices that you're seeing.
Amid the war in Ukraine, the North Dakota Petroleum Council is helping refugees find work. It launched Bakken Grow, or Global Recruitment of Oilfield Workers, in March. The program uses the United for Ukraine humanitarian effort to find qualified Ukrainians looking to move and find work. Since the program began, the council has brought 24 refugees to work in the Bakken.
So these folks from Ukraine are looking for an opportunity to put some money away for their families, to bring their families here, settle in for a while, and see what happens back home. We're hoping that some of these folks stay long term, and so are the communities involved. So I say it's a win-win-win.
Sanford says it's beneficial for the refugees who need work, the employee who needs employees, and the state's economy and oil industry. The refugees are considered humanitarian parolees and can work immediately for 2 years. He says the program is needed to fill jobs in the oil field. But the Ukrainians must have a sponsor to come. To find out more or become a sponsor, go to nd.oil.org/Bakken-Grow.